What was the most successful prank you've ever pulled? My late husband was a weather nerd and loved inclement weather. One time I was home alone and a huge storm was imminent. I taped the weather warnings. A few days later it was a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. We were watching TV and as soon as he walked into the kitchen to fetch a beer, I started playing the warnings. It was so funny. He kept running outside to check the sky. I laughed so hard, and so did he when I fessed up. My friends and I rearranged my college roommate's room and covered absolutely everything in tinfoil. He was just getting back from a trip and rolled in with his suitcase. He is overly dramatic and thus a great victim. We were watching TV when he goes to his room and I hear, "Oh my god." He huffs out and says the most dad comment ever, "Why would you do this? If this isn't cleaned up by the time I get back from work." Dart. He goes to work. We tinfoiled his suitcase. A successful but unsuccessful one. I saw a friend walking ahead of me. So did the old tap on the shoulder but run past on the other side maneuver. However, while concentrating on him I didn't see the park bench. Ran into it at full speed. And collapsed behind it. Through the gaps in the seat I could see my friend looking left and right. Almost freaking out. Wondering who had tapped him in the shoulder. The tears from the pain in my leg kept me from laughing and giving myself away for about 20 seconds. 1998 I was in 4th grade and got my hands on a universal remote watch. At the time it was super high tech and nobody had heard of such a thing. I would sneakily turn the classroom TV on every 5 minutes. The teacher, who I despised, was convinced that ghosts were in the room. She unplugged it after the 3rd or 4th time. After seeing the movie Poltergeist, I thought it would be funny to put all the chairs up on the table stacked all weird and then open all the cabinets in the middle of the night. I thought it would be harmless and my parents would get a laugh out of it. Nope. They believed 1000% that it was a ghost we had in the house and it didn't even matter that I told them the truth. They choose to believe it was the ghost. I'm not sure why. But I think they really wanted to be haunted or something. I don't know if this counts as a prank. But my dad is a huge fan of the series Scrubs. And there's a gag where a character puts a pancake in the silverware drawer and this exchange happens. Why is there a pancake in the silverware drawer? You mean why is there silverware in the pancake drawer? So, just for laughs, I made pancakes and put one in our silverware drawer. Waiting idly by in the kitchen for him to need a fork or something. I watch all giddy as he, confused, takes the pancake out and asks what's a pancake doing in the silverware drawer? Without missing a beat, I say, you mean what is silverware doing in the pancake drawer? I didn't think it would actually work. He got a real kick out of that. When I was 13 I told my mom my alarm stopped working and asked her to wake me up in the morning. So I stayed up until she went to bed and snuck downstairs. I took a jar of Vaseline and put the Vaseline on my doorknob and went to sleep. The next morning my mom woke me up by screaming, "What the F? WHO does something like that." One summer when my cousin was staying with us, he and I had a small prank war going on against one another. We decided to put our talents together and try to prank everyone else. We put small piles of flour on each blade of the ceiling fan in the living room. Just enough to not be seen from the ground. A few weeks went by and nothing happened and we had forgotten about it. And then, the day finally came. My mom had company over. I was in the kitchen and I heard all kinds of shouting, screaming coming from the living room. My cousin ran up to me grinning and said, "It's happening." The living room looked like it had just snowed inside. Everything was coated in a dusting of flour. My mother was screaming. Her guests were staring in confusion and the dogs were running around in circles. It was so amazing until we had to clean it all up. In the army the duties rotated. When it was my turn to clean the toilets I had prepared some chocolate pudding. I scrubbed the toilet seats exceptionally clean. then left a thin but clearly visible brown line of the pudding on one of the seats. During inspection, the lieutenant saw it and yelled for the person responsible for the bathroom that day. I raised my hand and followed him into the stall with the dirty seat. "What's this?" he said. I dipped my finger in the pudding, smelled it, then slowly licked my finger as if I was tasting it, and said, "It's poo, but I don't know whose." This is where I usually stop when I tell this story. The lieutenant was a hilarious guy. After a few intense seconds he cracked up and started laughing. Then simply told me to clean it in case his commanding officer would drop by. I had heard about this prank somewhere before, but I can't remember from where. But at least I did it myself. You remember the juice of fruit gum sticks? The ones with the wrapper? I would carefully open the gum and save the wrapper. Then I would carve a piece of soap to look like the gum, rewrap it and give it to my sister. The kicker was that after she first put the gum in her mouth and discovered it was soap, I'd laugh and then offer her a real stick of gum as an apology. That second stick was also soap. She fell for it. I bought $100 worth of Pepsi cans and hid them around my roommate's room. He moved out in August and he's still finding them. This is more serious now than it was a prank before. When me and my 3 other brothers were young, we hid from our dad when he came home from work. We never responded to him calling our names, nor made a peep. We thought we were the perfect little ninjas. Well, he decided to go to the neighbor's house to see if we were over there. But when he finds out we weren't, he calls my mother in distress saying we were all gone and nowhere to be found. My mom comes home crying and they're getting ready to call the police when we pop out from our hiding spots. They were not happy, lol. We all got the belt that day. For our high school senior prank at my boarding school, we snuck out in the middle of the night and stole the athletic director's prized golf cart. We pushed it up a hill to the school. One of our friends was able to get keys from a custodian and let us in a back door. We got the golf cart into the building and then into a science classroom and lifted it up onto the big lab tables. We decorated it with nonsense and left it there and locked everything up. In the morning, everyone not in on it was completely confused about how the hell we had pulled it off. We didn't even damage anything. Even the chain we had to cut to get the golf cart free was replaced with a note on our athletic director's doorstep. The custodial staff wasn't even mad at having to take the cart out because it was so ridiculous. I can only imagine the double take that the teacher did when he entered his class that day. Told my sister that orange soda tastes better the more you shake it before opening. I work at a wastewater treatment plant. We employ cameras to monitor things in the field that we need eyes on at all times. One of these cameras is pointed at the bed of a tractor trailer that is used to haul biosolids to the landfill. The video feeds a constant stream of dewatered sludge falling into the trailer. When one section is full, an operator has to go move the trailer so the solids don't spill out all over the place and make a mess. One year for April Fools, I used the old Control plus Alt plus up arrow to turn the camera feed upside down like 10 minutes before my shift was over. The person taking over for me was much older and much less tech savvy. When he noticed the sludge falling up instead of down, he lost his mind. The next day I got scolded by my boss because my coworker had a panic attack and then contacted the after hours emergency tech support line to fix the cameras. Fun police strike again. Ever had chocolate covered Oreos? I made some at college once and brought some home for my sister. About a month later, I was home and made another batch and left them at home for her when I went back to college. After making them, I replaced the majority with a chocolate covered monstrosity, Ritz crackers, with tuna salad sandwiched between them, covered in chocolate. They look just like the Oreos. She texted me angrily the next day. The first one she'd eaten was an Oreo, but the one after that was the chocolate tuna cracker. She hated me. It was great. This was in about 5th grade. I was sitting by the door and saw that a kid sitting by the window was copying all my movements. I made sure he actually was by making some weird movements, and sure enough he was. Then I noticed that behind his head, close to his shoulder, was an open window. I got the idea and swung my head as hard and violently as I could to the side. Of course he did the same also with a lot of speed and slammed his head into the window super hard. He whimpered and went home early because he had a headache. I felt pretty bad, but now every time I remember it puts a grin on my face. Sorry Tom. Edit. For these of you wondering, swang is an actual word lol. I wanted to put swung there but I liked swang more. It's not an amazing prank, but I told the new guy we do a secret Santa thing but for Easter eggs. At the shop he was looking at top of the range 10-pound eggs. And me, feeling a bit bad, was trying to convince him to just get a cheap one. But he didn't want to seem cheap. He ends up with a mid-range 5-pound egg. The next day at work, on a little break, he leaves to retrieve the egg. Now the best part of this is, I didn't tell anyone I'd done it. So he gives the egg to the boss. With a "I got you in the secret Santa egg" thing, the boss confused. What the frick? I'm creasing with laughter. Everyone is looking around. Like, what the frick? The young lad looks at me all embarrassed. Everyone then realized what I had done and blokes were in bits, crying with laughter. Best bit was he tried to take it back and the boss goes, "Now you can frick off, it's mine now. I've just got 2 new lads in now as well, so it might work again." Edit. Just read other people's and now mine seems poop. I was probably 10-11 and my mom had just made brownies. The soft chewy kind. I was one of those kids that constantly played with my food, so I was squishing up brownies into bite-sized balls and quickly noticed that they looked strikingly like cat poop. So I fashioned them into cat turds and placed them in my sister's room to gross her out. She found them shortly after and started to freak out. Then I casually walked in like, "Whoa, what's going on?" and proceeded to pick one up, eat it in front of her and comment on the nutty taste. I have never seen her more horrified in my life, but I felt like a true mastermind that day. Early 20s during college. I was sitting in the cafeteria eating and studying when a buddy came and sat down. Made some small talk and then he went to get food. He came back with nothing. Explained that he forgot his wallet at home. I offered him some money but he wouldn't take it. I offered to share my food and he declined, but jokingly touched the edge of the crust of one of the small slices. I told him he might as well eat it now because I couldn't. I went on to explain that I can't eat food that I know someone else has touched and that I was extremely phobic about it. Fast forward over 10 years later. After we've graduated and he's now not only married but I helped name his second daughter. She's about 3 now. He bought a house built in the 1850s and we've practically rebuilt every aspect of it from the basement to the roof. I finally had to come clean about it. After over a decade of insisting no one could touch anything I was going to eat. His wife believed this. His children believed this. He was pretty moved when I explained that it was all because I didn't like the thought of him going hungry over his pride. Of course he did spend a couple weeks touching just about everything I ate there after that. My housemate was bringing a girl back to the house. They'd been talking for weeks and he was as excited as a toddler on Christmas about it. He went to meet her and then took her to dinner in town. Meanwhile I went into his room and set up some candles. Scattered rose petals and then put some of the petals in the shape of a heart on the duvet. In the center I put a condom. Some loo roll which had "In case your Valentine's is crappy" written on it and a cheap engagement ring in an open velvet box I got off Amazon. I lit the candles, closed the door and ran into my room when they came into the drive. I've never seen someone so embarrassed in my life. Not really a prank, but when I was kid, there was this jet airplane at the park. It was fenced in without a gate. One night me and some friends climbed the fence and was climbing all over the plane. A cop car came with the light flashing. We were busted. The cop told us we were trespassing. We claimed, all in southern accents, that we didn't know it was off limits. Cop: "Why do you think they put a fence around it?" Me with a straight face: "So we couldn't fly it away." Cop just started laughing and let us go home. When I was in 3rd grade of middle school, we had a physics teacher that we didn't like. So one day when we had a class with her, We all went to an empty classroom with all our belongings. And someone hid somewhere in the hallway to check on her. She went to the class, saw it's empty and went to the principal on the second floor. We all went back to class. She came with the principal explaining that the class is empty. Opened the door to show her and saw us all in the class. They asked where were we and we all said we were in the class the entire time and that she came to class a few moons ago. Looked around and went out. After that she would always ask us if it was a prank and we had left the class that day. But we all insisted that everyone was in the class. And we saw her coming and going out. By the end of year she was convinced that the room wasn't empty and for some strange reason she had not saw us then.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.